Seminole Headlines 93.3 Real Talk Radio Warchant TV begins right now. Thanks for joining us. That is Ira. That's Corey. I'm Jeff. Been producing. Appreciate you. Listen, you're going to get used to this over the next 4 weeks or so. It's kind of a weird scheduling quirk right now, but we got to do the headlines shows at 9:30 on Tuesday mornings for the foreseeable future. Player interviews and the like are happening. They're rolling them out one by one. Well, it's not even one by one, a few by a few. And our boys got to be over there covering that and making sure they're getting those questions into those guys. So in order to make sure we don't miss out on doing the show and doing the right thing by our great sponsors and all of you, we're recording a little bit earlier than we ordinarily would. And so it is that I say, yay, sausage. You see them on the screen right there, Register Sausage, best in the biz. And we want to make sure we got to shout them out. As I had some Register Sausage on Saturday. Delicious.
Good work. Also got to give a shout out to William, their marketing guy, who killed it with the registers in the snow. They had a bunch of things on social media during the snow last week, our great snow of 2025. Had the registers, put it in different settings in the snow. I thought that was a well use of the brand. And man, there's no bad time to have register sausage, but certainly, on these cold nights, you can fire up some in the house. You may not be able to grill as much. Jeff likes to grill in the winter. Most of us don't.
I do.
Most of us do not. And although Corey, you said Stephanie's now she's going to be the grill master.
She's always been the grill master, but now she's got a smoker.
All right.
She's got a Traeger smoker. I don't know if you smoke. I guess you do smoke sausage.
You can smoke sausage.
I think they handle that on the front end.
Right. I don't know if you have to do that with registers, but so she's a smoker now. And you can also always grill indoors. I want people to remember that. You don't have to go outside when it's cold and grill. Just crack a window and roll the grill into the kitchen.
Are you going to tell them to use their generator in the house as well?
Yeah, that's fine. Whatever you got to do, man. It's cold outside.
Yeah, in fact, that's what Corey's recommending. During a storm, like the snowstorm, people lost power. Bring that generator inside, hook it up to a grill, and grill your register sausage.
Yeah. Do all the things in the house.
Gather the family around.
Yeah. And what else you do? You keep that Christmas tree around all year long so when it dries out, you got those lights on it. Yeah, let's make sure.
Anyway, by the way, Kim and the kids got me a one of those. I don't even know what you call it. Those outdoor stoves. Yeah, no, the ones like the stove, it's like a fire pit, but like a metal.
Oh, okay.
I need to look up the name of it.
Grill?
But anyway, no, man, it's like people know what I'm talking about.
Are they a sponsor?
No, but I was just saying I may be able to grill on that thing.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to expanded my horizons in 2025. If you want your register sausage, go to registermeats.com. Registermeats.com is the website. They'll have it shipped to you no matter where you live in the United States. And then you can have it fresh and delicious at your own house. Or if you're in this part of the country, go to your local grocery store. The footprint keeps expanding. Also, by the way, our guy Ben the sausage guy, congratulations to him. He's just finished a grad program at Harvard.
Yeah, he's a badass.
So all good things at registers these days.
Guys, I wasn't in love with the schedule release last night.
The way it was done or the schedule itself?
I never liked the way it's done, but I especially don't like the schedule itself. Now, if we put on our big boy pants and we return to being Florida State and operate like men and somewhat efficient and physical, then you never worry about any game, of course. But that hasn't been lately what we've seen. So short of that, the 2-10 campaign didn't exactly instill us with confidence before they released the schedule. Now every team and every game looks ominous on the heels of that. But also, God dog, man, can we just make it a little selfish here? Why in the world? You know how exhausted the three of us are going to be? 5 of the first 6 games at home, we're just incessantly working, walking out there in the heat at all times. Good God, man!
And that's really what
ridiculous.
And that's really what this is all about. Everyone should be really concerned about how hard we're working.
Too many home games.
Yeah. Too many home games in September. Do you realize just how tired Corey and myself and Ira are going to be? Really, all of Warchant's staff run ragged that first month of the season. It's out of control.
I do like that, when you look at it, and we're not doing W's and L's in January. You can't. We don't know what these teams are.
I can and will tomorrow. But anyhow,
that's fine.
I might not do it. I might not do them in August.
It's an exercise. I'm not going to do one in November. It's an exercise in futility. It means nothing in January. We have no idea like what Wake and Stanford are going to be. Probably not good, but we don't know. But when you do look at that thing, man, those first 8 games are not daunting at all, and that includes Alabama. Like you have I think 6 of your first 8 are at home. And the 2 road games are at Virginia and at Stanford, who were 2 of the worst teams in the conference last year. So, it sets up where you could get to November with a chance to be in contention for something. It gives you a chance when you go to Clemson on November 8th to be playing for something. That's all.
Yeah, no, I think the key from that standpoint, it's good for this Florida State football team. It may not be great
early on.
May not be great for us, Jeff, but I do think it's good for this football team because one of the things that killed them last year is I will say it to my grave, which hopefully will be in a long time. But that was not a 2-10 football team. That was not a 2-10 roster. But they went in with such high expectations, unrealistic expectations internally, as much as externally. And then when they got, they fell on their face in Dublin, and then got punched in the mouth again by Boston College. I mean, it was pretty much a wrap. And so they never got any better. They never got any solid footing. This schedule, if you can just withstand whatever happens against Alabama, and to me, that's going to be the key. If you can withstand whatever happens in that game and not let that derail anything, any of the 7 months of positive energy going into the season, because after that, in the next 3 weeks, you have Texas A&M, East Texas A&M, a bye week in Kent State. So you've got 3 weeks to really kind of, it's almost like it's almost like you get this one game to tell you what you need to work on. Then you get 3 weeks to really work on all those things. And to me, that's when the season really will start.
I was going to say what it becomes. It can't derail you because of the next 3 weeks. It just can't. Like you could lose 38-9. The next 3 weeks, you're going to win. You're going to win 2. You're not going to lose.
Yeah, but it determines how well you use that time.
Sure, but you're going to win those. You'll at least have some solid footing and feel a little bit better about yourself going to Virginia on that Friday night.
But what would give you a chance in those other games, to me, is how you use those 3 weeks. And you can't let that Alabama game derail anything. So to me, that's going to be the pivotal stretch of the season.
Well, and I guess if you're looking for signs that they're turning it all around and moving towards a time in which they will operate at peak efficiency, there's zero chance you should look bad against Virginia. You can't look bad against Virginia. It's for the point that you're making. You cannot look bad against Virginia. It's your ACC opener. I hate these stupid Friday night games. It makes us look like a bunch of clowns. But anyhow, we're playing on a Friday night. You go up to Charlottesville. Virginia sucks. There's no reason to go up there and be a bunch of buffoons. You just had a bunch of bums prior to that and a bye. They better look effing good against Virginia. That's all I'm saying now. They better look. I don't know what's going to happen against Alabama. They better look good against Virginia.
And then you come home after that, and you have Miami and you have Pitt. But man, might not win both of them. You split. Again, I just think there's a chance because of the first 5 games of your ACC schedule. 3 are at home, and the 2 road games are at Virginia and at Stanford, which are both eminently winnable, no matter what they've done in the offseason. You get to Virginia with maybe 1 conference loss, maybe 2, I don't know. But either way, you're playing Clemson with a chance for something. You're probably not going to beat Clemson as we sit here late January. That's a tall task to win in Death Valley just because you've done it twice in 25 years. But I like that the schedule. You should feel okay about your team going to October if this team doesn't screw around. It's easy on the front end, even with Alabama, in my opinion.
Yeah, Clemson's the sure loss, I think. Everything else, Alabama at home, you're not going to be favored, but it's not out of the question. Florida's going to be obviously a challenge late in the season. Going to NC State, Florida State's lost, I think, 5 of the last 6 to NC State, which is ridiculous.
And we play that on a stupid Friday night.
The other Friday game.
It look like we're treated like USF, bunch of ass clowns.
Well, I assume. I mean, I haven't talked to anybody over at FSU. My guess is, because ESPN's all in with the SEC now, and they're trying to get windows. They're trying to get windows where they can get decent teams.
Like they did. Sorry, I apologize. I forget.
No, good.
No, they're using us like they did Miami last year.
Right.
think about the late night games Miami played against Virginia Tech and against Stanford and again, Cal out there. Yeah.
When they're sitting down with the TV partners, it's basically like, tell us what you want. What will you do for us that gives us any chance to have people watching our games? And so, this is where they are. But yeah, I think, the good thing is Clemson's really, to me, the only sure loss. The downside is, there's a bunch of possible losses, so it's, and I think, I was talking to, some of the people. I was talking to Eric McLean from the ACC Network, and he pointed out that last year, it's not Florida State. Florida State was the only team that just wildly missed expectations. I mean, obviously, people nationally know about Michigan or Washington or whatever, but NC State in the conference, people thought that was going to be a great team last year because of what they had been doing, and they got a new quarterback, and there was all this excitement, and they completely crapped the bed. And so. And even look at, like, we talk about the way the schedule sets up. It reminds me of what people were saying about Florida a year ago. People last year about Florida were saying, man, they really better win in the early, the first half because they're going to get killed in the second half. And they end up running the table in the second half. So it is, in this day and age, man, and more than ever, it's impossible to really know.
I think the thing that I feel as I'll go with my Florida State fandom here, it makes me mad that we're in a position where every game not named East Texas A&M and Kent State feels potentially ominous. Like that's what last season did to you as a fan. I'm just talking about emotionally what it did to you. I don't know. They could go 10-2, but the point would be, like, you look at the schedule and then you find all the reasons that you could lose these games, especially because, Corey, you keep emphasizing how you get off to a good start and that you ought to enter into November feeling like you got a chance to matter. But what's not pointed out there is that there's a really good chance that you end up losing the vast majority of the games you play in that month.
Well, yeah, November's tough now. That's not a fun stretch. I do want to go back to last year because I just think if you would have lost to Georgia Tech and then come home and the next game is against East Texas A&M,
right,
the whole season might be different. It just might be different. Probably not, because you're still going to have some issues.
It would be somewhat different.
Yes, yeah, and I mean somewhat different, like you get to 5 or 6 wins, not 9. But that team could have used something to feel good about. It didn't get Charleston Southern until the season was completely over and done with. If Charleston Southern would have been the next week, well, who knows if they get their footing and they come in and they play Boston College with more confidence than they did. I don't know. I love the fact that you have 2 surefire wins in September. So you're over 500 in September, which is always fun. And then you have a pretty, those first 5 ACC games aren't all that daunting. 2 of the last 3 are. It's in that whole November, 5 straight games, 3 on the road. Your 2 toughest road games of the season, or 3 toughest road games of the season, are all in November. That's not great. But by that time, they may be 9-0 and flying, and it might be a magical season.
Yeah, when you play 4 of your final 6 games on the road against that competition, you do have this. I mean, it's a disastrous mindset to look at games and project wins and losses anymore. By the way, even all jokes aside, we do W's and L's all the time. You don't know what any team is anymore because of all the transfers. So I'll grant you that. But man, you really can, if you're a fatalist, project a scenario by which you're flying high and feeling very good about yourself, and then you lose 4 of your last 5 games. The next thing you know, you're like, great, nice 7-5. And
at least you were flying high. At least you were flying high at some point.
At some point, yeah.
Well, that is going to be, that's going to be the challenge, man, because it's your fans' perspective, media's perspective, maybe even players and coaches' perspectives really are skewed by the late season games. Jeff, I agree with you 100%. If you have a strong September in October, like think about Pitt last year, they started 7-0 on top of the world. The only thing anybody's going to remember is they got their last 6 games they lost, and so all those Miami teams that started off great and then
we made fun of them for it all the time.
Exactly. So that is what people remember more, is what you did at the end of the year. So I think two keys for me. One is, I said before, that Alabama game, and what I mean by that is they've got to do everything they can to make that a good game. I just think the program's in a dangerous place when you think about their last 12 games and then the game against Georgia, obviously. So you've been an embarrassment for the last 13 games you played, And now if you go into that Alabama game and you don't look competitive, the questioning internally is going to be a problem. Kids are going to be wondering, man, is this what we are now, Mike Norvell? Is Castellanos, can he not get it done? Did you make the wrong choice of quarterback? What's going on here? And now you have to rebuild that in those few weeks where you could be getting better. So, man, this coaching staff has to do everything they can to be competitive in that Alabama game. If you win it, great, but just be competitive. And then the other key is, yeah, man, I think they have to figure out a way to do something in that second, that window. I'm not saying you have to win even 2 of those games at Clemson and State Florida.
You can't crash and burn. Yeah.
But if it's a disaster it's going to be 7-5 can look a whole lot of different ways. And if that's the way it looks, it'll be tough.
There's a chance, guys. I'm going to throw this out there. I did it on our on Wake Up Warchant earlier today. That NC State game, it could be for a spot in the playoff. That Florida game will have no bearing on whether Florida State gets into the playoff. And I know I'm talking about a 2-10 football team. Give me a break. It's also a brand new football team. The Commanders they got to the NFC Championship game. They weren't just a few plays away, but they got to the NFC Championship game after being horrible last year. Things can turn around. But how crazy is it that Florida game matters not at all for Florida State's chances to get to a playoff? Like the one in Raleigh and then the one in Charlotte, if you were lucky enough to get there, are worlds more important than the one in Gainesville. Just a weird time we live in.
Yeah, I do feel like you two are seeing the schedule a little differently. I feel like right now, but I agree with what you're saying. And the other, from a standpoint of how important that game would be, but on the other side, it could be hugely important because if you're not in the contention for the ACC championship game and you are limping home, you could do what Florida did to you last year. Florida, those wins against LSU and Ole Miss were huge, but if they came here and lost to that bad Florida State team, it would have been, a record.
Yeah.
Whereas if Florida State can win that game in Gainesville, man, it would, if you're, again, 7-5 can look a whole lot of different ways. And if you could get to 7-5 or 8-4 with a win in Gainesville, which shouldn't be impossible, man, that would be huge.
Big picture talk is fun right now. I think you brushed up against something there, Ira, that I've been thinking a lot about, and you did so by addressing the Alabama game. Let's take a break, come back, and continue to talk about where Florida State football's at and the importance of this upcoming season. Seminole Headlines, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV continues in a moment.
Hey, headliners. Ira here. It's a new year and you're thinking, how am I going to make this year different? Can I turn this business idea I've been kicking around into a reality? How do I make it happen? Shopify is how you're going to make it happen, and let me tell you how. Shopify makes it simple to create your brand. Open it up for business and get your first sale. Get your store up and running easily with thousands of customizable templates. No coding or design skills required. All you need to do is drag and drop. Their powerful social media tools let you connect all your channels, and they help you sell everywhere people scroll. Shopify makes it easy to manage your growing business. They help with the details like shipping, taxes, and payments from one single dashboard, so you can focus on the important stuff, like growing your business. With Shopify, your first sale is closer than you think. Make this year the one where your idea becomes your reality. Established in 2025 has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/warchant, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/warchant to start selling with Shopify today. Shopify.com/warchant.
So at the end of the last segment, I was talking about something Ira was referencing about the perception of the program, the mentality of the players and coaches. I think that spills over to the fan base as well. There's a whole lot of 2 fingers to my eyes, 2 fingers back to you going into this season, both for the administration and then also for, obviously, the football program. There's a lot of hope. There's a lot of, in the minds of some, there's a lot of belief. And then there's a lot of trepidation and nerves, I think, for the large majority of this fan base. Like, what is Florida State right now? Where are they in the hierarchy of college football? Not their history. Where are they now? Where are they going? Is the operation anywhere close to being as good as it should be? That Alabama game is huge on a lot of levels. Tom and I were talking last week that, hey, look, man, or even yesterday, like, you know how many people are going into that stadium, that first game against Alabama, having been asked to increase their donations considerably, having to elevate their status as a booster in order to keep their seats if they want them, or at least be able to bid on some good seats. People that have sunk their money in and reinvested into the program, you want to make sure that experience is as good as it can be. I mean, the big money people that are going to be bringing their friends and family to that Alabama game, not only do you hope to play well, but you certainly hope the stadium ops is, better than anything you've ever come across.
Well, and they got to hire another solid DJ. That goes without saying. That's issue number one.
Yeah, hey, that's
actually rehire my man. Bring back my guy.
I was going to say that is one area that was addressed quickly. Like that abomination of a game, which was it Memphis? I can't remember.
No, it was the Boston College game.
Boston College game. Yeah. I mean, the fans spoke. We spoke a little bit too. And man, they listened because it was a 180 degrees difference.
Buddy, they didn't play a song that was made after 1981 for the rest of the season. No more.
Hey, Corey, don't complain.
I'm not. It was a bunch of. They played Eminence Front. Eminence Front hasn't been playing the stadium in 35 years, and they're like, you know what? Screw all those old people. My dad has a Spotify that says 1970s classic rock. Just hit that on repeat, and that was the stadium music for the rest of the season.
Listen, Eminence Front came out in the 80s, first of all. Secondly,
early 80s, but yeah.
I mean, it wasn't around. It wasn't 19. It wasn't with Poison.
No, it wasn't.
Sorry, I could barely speak. I was very young in the early 80s. I can't remember.
Yeah. So the thing is, you can always play the Who. You're never going to go wrong with playing the Who or the Stones. Sure. You're going to do the right thing there. But also, the decibel levels came down.
Yes.
And they did bother to let the band play every now and again.
And they brought back the Warchant on third downs.
Not before they blamed the band.
Well. Yeah, we don't need to relitigate all that.
We're not going to do that. For all of these reasons, they need to get this right. Mm-hmm. Like, you could lose 27-21, and the experience is awesome, and the place is rocking, and the amenities are over the moon, and a scoreboard that is timely and works.
Works.
Yes, like all of this. Like, that'd be cool with real stats and stuff.
They're doing better with the real stats. They don't do the punting now all the time. So we've changed some things for the good in there. But you talk about big picture Florida State. I feel like you're talking about the sport. Like, again, man, this is the only sport in all of the land, except for like travel little league sports, where the fans are the ones that foot the bill for everything. Like the fans have paid for the stadium, the fans are paying for the coach, and now the fans are paying for the roster. And if the roster sucks again, and you go 2-10, and the stadium experience isn't any good, that's when you wonder about. And that's across the board. That if Ole Miss goes 6-6 again, their big money boosters are going to be like, "What are we doing? Why am I spending this kind of money for this product again?" It's what will happen, right?
Well, the sport is in crisis. You're right about that. And we've had that discussion. But I think that specific to Florida State, they had the greatest of the outlier seasons.
Oh, 100%. And it came on the heels of asking for all these big money donations. And NFLizing the stadium to the point where you have to bid on the opportunity to buy seats, just like all these NFL teams do.
And on the heels of suing the conference, and on the heels of, waging a, Twitter war against ESPN and everybody else for getting snubbed in the playoff, which was all justified. Trying to get out of the ACC was justified. Wanting to get out is justified because of the revenue changes. Complaining about the snub was more than justified. And there's nothing out of line there. The problem is once you do all that and then you put out a product on the field that's an embarrassment, you got egg on your face. They had egg on their face all year. And
they did.
To Jeff's point, you got to start cleaning that off.
You got to. Can we be presentable when we go to the next party? I mean, my God, the last time you dragged your whore of a girlfriend through here, everybody was ashamed. And you were drunken idiots stumbling around the living room. I had to get you sent home early. Let's go.
You peed your pants, man.
Yeah, get it together, man. Wear a nice outfit. Bring somebody presentable in here. Shake hands, look people in the eye, and go about your day. Let's go.
The good thing is, though, because of the news cycle is so quick now, and because the sport is changing so quick, man, people think about the way our guy Siggs was treated this year. You would have think he invented football. People don't realize the guy was a journeyman college football coach. I mean, he's in his 60s before he got that opportunity, and it was a perfect window for him. But he was, I mean, the toast of the town in college football. We'll see what he is next year. And they had no tradition and no history. People had never even heard of him if you were not a serious college football fan. So if Florida State with their brand can dust it off pretty quickly, I think you can rebuild it quickly. Is all I'm saying. It was a black eye, but black eyes heal. They
got to get some things right. You're right. 7-5, 8-4 can come a lot of different ways. I would say though, I'm with you, Corey, about the fact that you should be fine no matter what happens in the Alabama game. But to Ira's point, you lost to Florida at the end of the year. They tried to let you be in that game, and you couldn't do anything about it. So you lose that game. If you get blown out against Alabama, and this, of course, is after you got blown out against Georgia and that other, you got a lot of moments where you can look like a program that doesn't belong in the big boy conversation.
Yeah, well, you just went 2-10. You don't now.
But we're going to say that it was a crazy anomaly. We're going into the new year. But it's not it doesn't feel like a crazy anomaly if all of a sudden you get blown out by Alabama, who wasn't that good last year.
If you get blown out, then that's your 2-12 in your last 14 games, with a lot of those 12 losses being blowouts to SEC teams. The counter to that is it's not forgotten, but if you're 4-1 or 3-1 going into the Miami game, if you win your next 3 games, which are imminently winnable, you're going to win 2 of them. And the other one, the coin flip game is at Virginia. Well, then the stadium will be full for the Miami game in October, and you have yet another chance to get people back on board. That's the beauty of this schedule, I think, is no matter what happens to Alabama, the next month you will have another chance to get people back on the bus. In that's the more important game, as we all know. That Miami game is more important if you're actually trying to accomplish something and get to the postseason. People will come back if you give them a reason to.
Let me ask you guys this. So we know the players lost their confidence. I feel like Mike Norvell probably lost some of his confidence last season as well.
Yeah, man, right? What is he, not human? He better have.
So now he's made these changes. He's brought in his guys. He brought in Grandpa Gus, as Jeff likes to say, or Papa Gus.
I don't call him Papa. The listener does that, but go ahead. Yeah.
Anyway, he's made these changes. I think what he did in the end of the recruiting cycle, some of the polls they made late, flipping some important players, and then the transfer portal went well. You get some pretty marquee players, both sides of the ball. I feel like that's probably given him some juice back again. I think he might need that Alabama game to go well. And again, not go well meaning win it, but just not – if it's ugly, again, I'm not trying to dwell on the negative outcome, but if that does happen, I wonder how he handles that as well. And because what he projects to the team is what they're going to feed off of. And so he's got to handle it well.
Well, and it would be more of, another press conference where your coach is having to kind of figure out the right things to say after a disappointing result. It's never easy no matter what. He's had to do it way too many times. And if you had to do it on the heels of a blowout, given the last time we saw you play and the season that you had, yeah, man, it's tough to project or exude any sort of confidence at that point because you would have nothing to base it on.
Hey, speaking of press conferences, can we talk about your boy Liam Cohen real quick?
Woo! It's hard to fail that badly when you are taking over. Anytime a new coach is hired, the easiest thing in the world to do is win the press conference because
they all do it.
Desperate for a new voice. How do you screw that up? How do you not practice saying Duval if you're going to venture down that road?
Oh no! Did he pronounce Duval
you haven't
wrong?
seen this?
You haven't seen this?
Oh my, Corey!
Oh my God, Corey! It's the worst.
So what is he? How does he say it?
It's inexplicable. It's the exact opposite of the way you're supposed to say it.
If I said Corey, say Duval to the Jacksonville fans in a way that you think will embolden them in their beliefs that we're going to have a winning season. You would not have mapped out a worse way to do it than the way that Liam Cohen did it.
So he was trying to do Duval.
But he did it the other way. He was a Duval.
I mean, did he really?
He did it the wrong way, and he did it as if he was trying to be a ghost.
If you asked your mom, Corey, either one of you. Well, it's just mom.
What are we? Let's not get my name. Get my mom's name out of your mouth. Holy cow!
Yeah.
If I asked my dead mom when she was alive, I'm trying to think of people who are as far removed from what he was trying to present.
I think your dead mom would do it the way that he did it just now. Like if the dead mom did
Ben's got it for us.
Here we go. First of all, look at that.
Duval.
Oh no.
Duval.
Oh boy.
Oh no.
And he's so proud of it.
Oh
so
no.
proud of it.
No. I'm really saddened.
Well, look, here's the beauty. He might end up you're sad because he's good and you lost him.
Well, somewhat. We've lost our last two offensive coordinators after winning the division.
Right. It's what you're going to do. You're as close to the Super Bowl as the Falcons, but it's fine.
Hey, how many playoff games have the Falcons won lately, buddy?
I haven't even been to the playoffs.
You're not taking pot shots at the back-to-back.
Look, man, you're like
Southern Conference.
It's like Indiana and SMU. It's cool that you keep getting. It's cool that you're in the playoffs. You have no chance of winning the Super Bowl.
The Bucs are like
the Super Bowl within the last 7 years. What is wrong with you?
It's a COVID year.
The Bucs are like
and you had Tom Brady. Oh God, you don't have Tom Brady. What's the matter with you?
Falcons could have had Tom Brady.
Didn't want him. Didn't need him.
Yeah, there it is.
But what was I going to say?
So I know what I want to say.
But I do too.
What? Okay, go ahead then.
Yeah, let me talk, Ira. Yeah.
Well, you said you forgot what you were going to say.
No, but then it came back to me.
All right.
The Eagles coach had a horrendous introductory press conference.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. It matters right now if he can coach and he hires good people. It does not matter.
Dan Campbell had a terrible press conference, and he's now beloved. I will say that doesn't exude leader of men.
Let me ask you this.
The way he said that is crazy.
And that's what I wanted to get to. Let me ask you guys this. When do we turn the NFL over to the nerds? Like, I don't understand. Like Mike McDaniel, I remember watching Mike McDaniel's first press conference, and I know the guy's probably a genius. But I watched that press conference without looking at social media, and I thought, man, if I was a Dolphin fan, I'd be like, what did we just do? And then I went on social media, and people were like, oh, this is awesome. Like, people were fired up about him. I was like, okay, I guess we're embracing the smart guys now. It's not like the football we grew up on. But these two guys never would have been head coaches when we were, for most of our lives. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just a weird thing in the sport of football. I think it's fine in other sports. Yeah. It's weird in football to me.
I think you can be a super nerd the way that Mike McDaniels is, but you can be a super nerd if you embrace the super nerddom.
Right. What
you can't be is floating sort of in between. Like Liam Cohen was a good coach as an OC in the SEC. He did well at Kentucky. He was obviously really good in Tampa. I just didn't realize without the hat and the sunglasses, he is one of the dorkiest people to walk the earth. It is unbelievable. Yeah. The hat and sunglasses saved him.
And I think Sirianni with the Eagles, it is Sirianni, right? Not
correct.
Sirianni. I think his players love him. That guy's he's a bit of a loose kid. I think they play hard. They play hard for him. So whether they love him or not, they play really hard for him.
You know who he lost to last year in the playoffs?
I mean, all I know is who won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but do you know who he lost to?
Yeah, I do. Anybody could have beat that team at the end.
Boat racing the Eagles, sir.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And then the playoff run ended. But hey, it's cool you're there. It's like being a Braves fan.
Don't you try, buddy.
It's like being a Braves fan. It's
in a playoff game every now and again, buddy.
The Falcons haven't been to the playoffs in 7 years. It's a joke. But yeah, so I do think that and you look at like these guys. I don't even know if McDaniel played. I assume Liam Cohen played somewhere.
McDaniel, I think, played receiver somewhere or DB.
I think he was a quarterback, actually. And I would tell you this, that McDaniel played in the Ivy Leagues, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, maybe, yeah. I know he went to an Ivy League school. I didn't know if he actually played football there. But and I know because I looked it up because Stephanie was watching a game one time. I was like, wait, that guy played football? And I'm like, I assume. But then you bring it back to Norvell. Norvell's got a little nerd in him, not like these guys though. And I think Norvell has a personality that he's fiery. He's fiery. I mean, I don't know. I think that helps. It didn't help this last year, but I think it can help because he, I would have a hard time. The guy at the Dolphins, I don't know. You're right. It's weird with football. It's weird with football.
That's what I'm saying. And I'm not saying like you have to be meatheads and right. I'm not saying that's, I'm just saying at some point, if you're not having success, I do feel like in the sport of football, it's a little bit different. And I think basketball, baseball, those sports are a little bit different. You can be, cerebral and but I think in a football locker room, at some point they have to feel like you played. Like you can say Mike Norvell's not a big imposing guy. He set his school's all-time receiving record.
Yeah.
He knows what football is. Like he's played at a high level. That's going to be to me a disconnect if you don't have success. If Liam Cohen, if he kills it and has tremendous success, they won't care. Marv Levy was successful. I don't think he ever played football, but you have to carry yourself a certain way and you have to have success. If you don't, man, I think it becomes a huge target. And the way he said Duval is just unbelievable. It's almost like he was not aware that he's clearly not aware of that.
He's never been around a fan. He's never been around a fan base and heard them say that, which is insane when you're going to be the Jags coach.
I'll do us all a solid. Mike McDaniel was a wide receiver at Yale.
Okay. Liam put up big numbers?
No. But he was a wide receiver at Yale, and Liam Cohen was the starting quarterback for UMass, 4-year starter, and he broke their all-time passing records. He was roommates at one point with Victor Cruz, by the way, and then he went on to coach. His first coaching job was at Brown. So,
what do you think? What do you think Victor Cruz thought when he saw that yesterday?
What do you think he texted
roommate?
Him? Yeah,
yeah. I always told you were a dork. Don't try to do that.
Yeah, that's why I stopped rooming with you.
We'll wrap up the hour on Seminole Headlines, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV in a moment. Wrapping up the hour, we'll get you to headliner questions. I'm excited about the headliner questions. I got to admit, I imagine a lot of people had to refocus. The schedule comes out. You kind of got to get your wits about you and wrap your mind around Florida State football once again, because you're sure as hell not thinking about Florida State basketball.
Not the men, anyway.
Yeah. No. You might be thinking about Sanaya Latson.
Yeah,
he might be. He might be. That was a cool moment there against North Carolina. I love looking in the stands to see the pain on the people's faces whenever something like that happens.
We won't talk a lot about. She's awesome. She's the best player they've ever had. Her and Dave Cowens are probably the two best basketball players Florida State has ever had. Women's officiating is just. I can't tell you how atrocious it is. The only reason North Carolina was in the game is because Florida State's second best player fouled out on the most ridiculous calls you've ever seen. It's just this one woman, and she called one against North Carolina too. She got paid by the charge call, and you could tell the way she flips her hips and does that, like we're going this way, it gives her so much joy.
Correct.
She's worked on it in the mirror.
Reminds
Unlike our guy that worked on the Duval.
Teddy, buddy. Reminds you of TV Teddy.
Oh, he's definitely worked on things in the mirror. She worked on it in the mirror, and she loves calling the offensive foul, especially against the visiting team, because she knows the reaction it'll get from the home crowd. It's embarrassing. It's so embarrassing. Brooke Wyckoff doesn't even make a face. She's just used to it.
Because she played in the sport and she coached it a long time.
You're going to get 6 of these calls a game. Just got to move on.
And you guys know I'm not a big watcher of women's basketball, not a big fan. I will say that the game has come along so far. It's so much more athletic than it's ever been, and it's ascending. It's clearly on the rise, and it deserves better. Because to Corey's point, and Ira, you said this too, but I try now. I try to watch a little bit more, and I try to get more engaged. And again, because the sport's gotten better in my mind, I can't watch a lot of women's basketball for the reasons you're describing. It's so poorly officiated that I'm 5 minutes in. I'm like, okay, I can't do this. I can't do this. It's awful. It's freaking terrible.
You know, it would make you feel better though. Tavello might make.
Hey, listen, I was going to segue into Tavello.
The guy's a pro, Jeff.
That's a pro. He could do that. I was going to do it talking about all the Tavello I would need if Alabama beats us 38-0.
That's where the staff party for the football staff will be on Sunday.
Yeah. Like go out to Tavello and Thomasville. We don't want to see your faces in Tallahassee.
Yeah.
Take it out to Thomasville and drink to your heart's content.
Maurice would shut the door. He would I'm not letting y'all in here. Take it somewhere else.
I thought he may lock him in like that scene.
Man, that's a great scene.
Oh, my God. I'm so old I can't remember the movies anymore. It's a 90s gangster movie with Joe Pesci and my man Chaz Palminteri. I can't remember the name. Bronx Tale.
Come on,
unbelievable scene.
I just have to keep helping you out left and right. Anyhow, here we go. Bronx Tale. It's a good scene.
Yeah,
with the bikers in the bar.
Yeah.
And the line's the best is now you can't leave.
Now use can't leave.
Yeah, now you
can't leave.
Yeah.
All right. That part of 90s trivia was brought to you by Corey Clark.
Hey, sorry, we'll get to 1978 trivia next hour, Ira. My fault.
Can we talk about Tavello?
Sure.
Can we please talk about Tavello? Congratulations. What did they win? They won the People's Choice Award at what was the event, Jeff, that they were at this past weekend?
Pints for Paws, sir. Pints for Paws.
A charitable event in Tallahassee this past weekend. Tavello came down and they won the award for basically the People's Choice. The consumers
not the animals' choice. The pets didn't get to vote.
It was the humans.
The humans that were bringing the pets.
And they won the People's Choice Brewery Award for the event. And that's the third event now that the guys have won. They won Thomasville's Brew Fest. They won award for best brewery, I think, at Tallahassee's Brew Fest. They're killing it. Tavello people up there in Thomasville. As soon as you get into town, go check it out. We've had friends now it's cool now. People are starting to spread the word that they've gone and checked it out and had a good time. One of our listeners sent us a picture on Twitter of the stout. He enjoyed the stout, which I'm never going to be drinking, guys, honestly, but it's there. It's there for people that want it. They've got all different, probably more than a dozen different type of exclusive brewery beers that they make there, including some ciders. They have a slushy machine. Go check them out up there in Thomasville.
I like that Ira throws in. They have a slushy machine.
They do. It's like a cider slushy thing.
I was there with you. We had some of the slushy.
What's funny is when I brought my daughters there, who are of legal drinking age, the two older ones,
getting them boozed up.
I was pushing the slushies. I was like, try the slushy. And so much so that I think they were like, why do you want us to drink the slushy? What's in this? What's your deal here?
Yeah.
And but they enjoyed it.
You were being a sexist, assuming the women needed to drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, they don't want
a beer. That's what
they're not going to drink a stout.
That was definitely the implication from them. 100%.
By the way, stout is delicious, and their stout is delicious. All their beers are, but that stout is good. But it's also very powerful, so be careful.
Yes,
it's got a little something to it, and they did.
If you're gonna dance with that, definitely make sure you bring a DD.
Yeah,
and which is. Again, it's about half hour up the road. It's not too far, but go up there. If you have dinner, go stop by Tavello and have some drinks as well.
Are you excited about the questions, guys, that we're going to get in about 3 minutes here? I'm excited to see, because I want to know. I have not looked at the questions. Corey loves that I don't.
No, duh. Why you said that? It's like normally you're sitting there picking out the 12 best.
No, I never do.
Yeah,
and that's why it's frustrating to him. But I purposely, I like that spontaneous reaction.
Oh, me too. I'm good with it.
Did we get a Facebook prompt, Corey?
Yeah, of course, man. This
questioning.
is year 12 of doing this, Ira. There's always a Facebook prompt.
What time did the Facebook prompt go out?
It was probably 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock last night.
Twitter was around the same time.
So it's fine. With a morning show, it gives people less time to. By the way, if you're in the chat and asking us questions,
yes.
Jeff didn't make that crystal clear at the beginning. We can't see him because we're recording this early.
Well, I think it's pretty crystal clear when I tell you this is recorded, which is what I said when we began the show.
But people that are tuning in 25 minutes in, they don't know that it's recorded. So just know, everyone, that it is recorded. We can't see.
And it will be for the next 4 weeks. So there you go.
Yeah. Which kind of sucks. I'll be honest with you. It sucks. I like the live. I like the 1 o'clock, because there's going to be some stuff that breaks one of these weeks.
Oh,
because
sure.
9:30 to 11, it's not a ton of news breaking in the sports world. It's usually
post
11 a.m.
Today is a problem twofold, because we have Link Jarrett and baseball, and we won't be able to react to that on today's Seminole headlines. I don't know there'd be a lot to react to, but we can't.
We might have a little bit, because it's happening actually right now in our time, it's close to 10:30.
Yeah,
They're actually, so he's actually about to meet with the media. So some of the news may bubble out from that, and we'll react to it during the questions. But yeah, it's different. But Corey kind of brings us back to our old youth.
The roots, the roots of headlines back in the day.
Used to be.
And by the way, my hair was jet black back then,
and fuller. Thick. It was thick, full, much black. Thicker. Yeah, instead of thin, gray, receding.
Yeah. Well, you're a lot older, Ira. You're a lot older. A lot closer to death.
A lot wiser.
Well,
wiser.
That too.
There you go. We've all seen some things like 2 and 10, and that's why I'm so excited about the questions. Is I kind of want to see the overall tenor of these questions. Are they jaded? Like, how many ways are we going to get beat by Virginia or Stanford and Palo Alto? And, it's going to rub this fan base very wrong to go out to California and lose to Stanford if that happens.
It'll be interesting to see what happens in terms of, what would have to happen in these first 4 games for people to feel good. Like, Corey's theory makes sense on paper. That people will, you'll feel pretty good about yourself if you're 3-1 or possibly 4-0. But at what point is it going to get back to where FSU fans walk into a stadium with their chest full the way they were in 2023?
That's a good question. I think you got to be very, very competitive against Alabama. You got to stomp East Texas A&M and Kent State, and you better beat Virginia because you've got a bye week. There's no excuse. They better look good in those games, and don't get blown out by Alabama. That's the answer.
Yeah. Look, man, they could be 7-1 going into the Clemson game. But that's not a hard first 8 games. They could also be 3-4. I get it. But they could be 7-1 because they're all winnable. None of them are absolute losses. And there are a few absolute wins. So that's cool. That's better than last year.
Hour number 2, headliner questions coming your way. Stay with. Hour number 2, Seminole headlines, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV, and headliner questions coming your way. First, though, we say thanks, as always, to Dr. Birch. Heather Birch, she is the best in the business and a very, very kind supporter of Seminole headlines and all things Florida State, frankly, as she and her staff do miracles on a weekly basis. And soon the transformation will be complete for my youngest son, from a mangled alien mouth to a normal-looking member of society with straight teeth. I look forward to celebrating the day.
You think when Clark wins his first Oscar or Grammy or Emmy?
Is he an actor?
He's personality.
He's got a lot of personality. That's what I was referencing. So he could go down that path. You're right.
Okay. I could see him fronting a rock band. Can he sing it all?
I don't know. I've never.
You've never heard your son sing?
No, I don't. He doesn't have like a glorious voice. There's no. Yeah, I'm not hearing that. But he. It's hard. You don't get a lot of singing in rap, Ira.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, maybe he'll be a rapper. But either way, maybe one of those country rappers. Look, man, we'll talk Clark.
Like Nelly?
Kind of rap? No, we're not doing that.
How proud would you be? Anyway.
Oh, my son's a country rapper.
I think Clark
he raps about pickup trucks.
Might bring Dr. Birch.
Bales of hay.
You might bring Dr. Birch on stage, or at least give her a shout out at the ceremony. It was all possible, but the confidence he got from Dr. Birch. But listen, we all have people in our family that don't have the best teeth. So we're not all blessed to have perfect teeth.
I remind all mine all the time about how messed up their teeth are. I'm like, you look like an idiot.
Other people might seek remedies and not shame their children, and because it's through no fault of their own, unless they're just eating candy bars left and right. But anyway, Dr. Birch will take care of you. Great customer service. They'll do free consultations. Difficult cases. Again, my oldest daughter, we were told by another orthodontist she was going to need jaw surgery, which was a little frightening for an 11-year-old. But it turned out Dr. Birch figured it out. They made it work, and they'll do the same thing for you. And they have payment plans. It's obviously it's not cheap to get braces or Invisalign or any of these things, but they will work with you, and they do financing in house. So tell them and mention Seminole headlines when you go in and talk some football, because Dr. Birch loves talking about the Noles.
All right, boys, here we go. Right off the bat, first question comes in from Greg in RVA. He says, who is the worst head coach in the ACC?
It's a little out. I mean, it's hard to judge that.
Is it Bill Belichick?
I was gonna turn it towards who's gonna get fired first, and I feel like it might be Brent Pry. I feel like Virginia
This
Tech
is the
coach
year,
Brent
right?
Pry.
He doesn't have a big year this year. It's probably him.
3 bad years, and he just fired some staff members to, he fired that bullet last year, like another coach we know, fired a bunch of assistant coaches. So I think I don't think he's a bad coach, but he's definitely been underwhelming.
That was going to be my guess, Ira. That's what I would have said as well. It's if we're just talking about X's and O's, it's the head coach in Miami.
Yeah.
Now,
but there's more to it, right?
Recruiting,
but there is much more to it, correct?
And developing an offensive line, which he does very well. And
well, he's got one of the better offensive line coaches in the country as well. Yes, no, it's a program. It's in totality. But if we're talking about managing time, yards, just all that kind of stuff.
It's hard because the bad ones aren't here for very long. Like I don't even know who the Wake Forest coach is. And Clausen was good. I'm not saying he wasn't, but I'm saying
it might be a good one. It's the guy that was at Washington State. I think.
Yeah, they brought him in. He did a good job at Washington State.
But I mean, we'll see how he does. Yeah. It's a whole different ball game here, so we'll see how he does it in Winston-Salem. But yeah, those are always hard to answer because the bad ones don't stay around for very long, and the new ones we don't know yet.
Even like you were joking about Belichick because he's a legend in the NFL, but that could be a colossal failure. I mean, we'll see.
It feels like it'll be a colossal failure, but
Yeah.
Like I mean, right now the one who had the worst season is living in Tallahassee,
right?
But I wouldn't say he's the worst coach.
No.
Because he's also had the best season out of all of them. Bill Belichick never went undefeated. He did go undefeated in one regular season.
Yeah.
That's it. So it's he and Norvell. Those are the only two guys that have done that.
It's comparable going undefeated in college and the NFL.
Yeah.
I was trying to go through and I'm looking closely. Yeah. Ira, your Brent Pry is a good one.
All right.
I don't think Tony Elliott and guys like it's
Tony Elliott's shown some sparks here and there, and I think he may get fired before Brent Pry. I mean, they're probably neck and neck. Narduzzi might be on the hot seat this year because the way they collapsed last year, and he makes some crazy bad decisions.
Yeah, he does. He does. But
he might be worse than
all these guys we're talking about went to a bowl last year.
Yeah.
All right, man. That's fair.
We've got, hey boys, how would you describe this year's baseball team and what are their expectations? Well, Garrett, there are a lot of newcomers that most of us who follow baseball are really excited to see play. Now, we don't know how well they'll do in year one in some cases, but that's a nice mix of also returning veteran players that have proven themselves and should be very, very good. And, of course, you've got a frontline starter that many people think will be at the very least an All-American, and some think will be the number one pick in the draft. So that's a hell of a way to start your Friday nights.
If they stay healthy, they'll be one of the best pitching teams in the country. They lost – I mean, you don't lose Tibbs and Ferrer and Cam Smith and just keep rolling. They're going to take a significant step back offensively.
But
that's fine. You're supposed to. These guys might end up in a couple years being that level. But you're not always going to have a team with Daniel Cantu batting seventh. You know what I mean? Like he might bat cleanup on this team. But that's just the way the rosters, the lineup shakes up. But they can still be good. They're not going to be one of the best offensive teams in the country. But they might be the best pitching team in the country if things break a certain way. You don't need a great offense. You just need a good offense, which they could be.
Yeah, the pitching looks to be elite. And then if you add in, as good as that offense was last year, you had a lot of guys that Link Jarrett did not feel very comfortable with defensively, especially in the positions they were being asked to play. So as he's getting further into his third year now, he's going to be. You would like to think he's going to have defensive players more in line with what he wants. Is also if you've got a much better defense to go with that pitching staff, it could be really fun. So real quick on baseball, would you say that program's most likely to win the next national championship for Florida State, even though they've never done it? I mean, them or soccer, but they may be.
I think it's one of the golf teams needs to win the dang national championship. And I'm not being sarcastic there. Like the women's golf team has like the two best amateurs in the country, and the men's golf team has a dude that could already have his PGA Tour card with the way he's done on the tour. So
that's fair. I thought that's unfair of me, I suppose, but I only look at the big three when you're talking
about spectator sports, really.
Yes.
Yeah. The ones that make some money for the university. Yeah, I tend to lean towards Link's program getting it done before men's basketball and men's football at this point.
Well, weirdly, it's now easier. Like to win a football national championship now, holy cow.
Yeah.
And then obviously the basketball team is nowhere near it. Nowhere near
Next question.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to start humming Taylor Swift.
Yeah, no, not quite there yet.
Pretty close. Z writes, it snowed in Tallahassee before Miami won an ACC championship.
Yeah.
True story.
That's true. Trailer Swift writes, gents, as a fan base, can we collectively replace football terms rush, scramble, and throw with scamper, scurry, and heave? Let's lean into the whimsicality of our QB stature. Just imagine Colhane. He scurries to the left and scampers for the first. He heaves it downfield.
I like scamper. I've always liked that verb. I was talking to Bill at Corner Pocket the other night. Why did we start calling it rushing attempts? Where did the verb rush come from when it came to running the football? It's an interesting thought, right? Like it's just something we've all grown up with. But rushing yards, you have passing yards, you pass the football. You don't rush the football, you run the football.
Running yards seems so ridiculous, though.
But where did rush? I know it does now because that's how we've grown up. But, where did rush become a synonym for run?
Let me ask you guys a question. I'm verbal football wordplay. And I'm fighting this as the editor of our website at warchant.com. Mm-hmm. The term edge instead of defensive end, I'm not a fan. What's wrong with defensive end? Why is
There's
that?
There's nothing wrong with defensive end. There's nothing wrong with middle linebacker, outside linebacker, free safety, and strong safety in corners.
I like Buck.
The nonsense?
I like Buck. I like Jack.
Buck,
Jack,
Box. Edge. Stop being a-holes. No. They're defensive linemen. They're defensive ends. They're middle and outside linebackers. They're corners, safeties. That's it. We're done.
It'd be funny if baseball coaches. Well, we got our wing. We got our stallion.
Yeah.
You mean shortstop? Shortstop. Yeah. Stud. Where does Stud play? Oh, he's the second base. Yeah, it's the stallion, the stud. Double play.
I blame it on, Ira? I blame it on the first time that this happened was when we were young, and that was the first they started calling people rovers.
Yeah, Rover was a
once they started calling people rovers, it opened the door to all this other nonsense. It was just a safety with a more expanded role. But instead, they're like, oh, that's a rover.
Yeah, ROV. He's an ROV.
Spurrier came up with Gatorback. That was his outside linebacker. Ben Hanks was a Gatorback. So what is that?
An outside linebacker.
An outside linebacker. Yeah.
No, you're really on to something here, Ira. It pisses me off. I hate it. And the other thing that pisses me off is stop being any old number you want to be. No, you can't be 0 as a defensive lineman. You can't just decide to be number 97 as a starting corner. You can't be like
that would be awesome. I would love to see a 97.
It's just
corner.
ridiculous.
They all want to be single digits. Nobody on a football field wants to have a number over 19. That's because it's like, when was the last good receiver that wore a number in the 80s? Jerry Rice, like none of them want to wear a number in the 80s anymore.
Michael Irvin was 88, right?
I think edge, though, Ira. I think edge is because that's where they play. Like it could be a linebacker or it could be a defensive end.
They're an end. That's fine. Just keep it right there.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was just saying maybe that's.
And from a copy editing standpoint, to me, the reason I don't, and again, nobody cares, but is it all caps edge? Is it a capitalized edge? Like,
is it an acronym? What does edge stand for?
The only time that I'll let you mix things up, because you could do DE and DL, if you want to do NG for nose guard, I'm gonna let you go with that.
Or NT, nose tackle.
Yeah, but I'll let you do either one.
I think to me, it's one of those things that sounds like a football thing to say.
Oh yeah,
he's an edge. It's like when people say the quarterback room, and I'll do it sometimes too. But it makes you feel like you're talking the lingo. You're part of a football team.
Yeah. This is us. This is what we do. This is how we talk.
Well, and that's look at his catch radius, guys.
Big
deal. It's a big deal. And Castellanos has some guys with some big catch radiuses now.
Okay, Kevin writes, where do you see Camden Fryer playing a role this year?
I hope he does, man. I hope he's healthy because what we saw him in the spring, I think it was in the spring or it might have been preseason camp, whenever the first time we saw him, he's got really good hands. and he can run. I'm going to say it, Corey. He's a little quicker than you think. He's a little faster than you think.
Yeah.
But I
Is
like
he a
him.
coach on the field?
He just got he's a gym rat, but he had surgery before the season in camp last year, so we didn't get to see him. I think he could be a factor, maybe as a slot guy.
Odds are, though, he won't be.
I mean, I wouldn't put money on him doing it,
Yeah.
but I think there's a chance he could be.
Well, just because, number one, Malzahn's not going to run out 9 receivers. He's going to have 3 or 4 he's going to stick with. You didn't bring Squirrel and Deuce over here to not play. And then you've got some guys coming back that are above Fryer on the depth chart. So it's going to – now, he'll get to play in September, but it's very hard to see a scenario where not very hard, but it's hard to see a scenario where a redshirt freshman who did not play at all as a first year would get up, would find a way to get a lot of reps in this offense this year.
I would push back on a lot of guys that are higher than him on the depth chart, because there's a lot of dudes that we've seen play that I would not have on my depth chart if it was my choice. So
how dare you? How dare you? That's ridiculous. Guys, I hope you're not watching this.
Ambassador.
I'm talking to the receiver room, by the way. Talking to the receiver room when I said that.
I was telling that receiver room to go to hell.
Yeah.
Hey, not Deuce. You're WR1, Deuce.
Yeah.
You're WR1 in my heart. But no,
it's weird. I wonder, what do you guys think? I know this wasn't a question, but like when I say it's because Cam Fryer will be a slot guy, right?
You would think you better not be out. Hey, man, I'm done.
I got you.
You don't start down this path again.
Well, you want guys with catch radiuses on the outside. I need
somebody taller than 5'6" out here trying to catch a football.
Well, look, he's a normal size 6 foot. Let's not body shame and call him 5'6". But is it Jalen Lucas going to be a slot guy?
Who's 6 feet?
He's closer to 6 feet than he is 5'6".
Yeah, he's not small.
Cam Fryer. His dad was 6 feet.
I was talking about somebody else, but
no. But I was going to say, when we talk about the slot, don't we foresee like Lucas and Danzy having some of that role too? That at least I do. That's why, or Landon Thomas. That's why I feel like even a slot receiver might have a hard time getting on the field a lot when you have body types like that.
Ambassador to Florida writes, gentlemen, with all things considered, was this Norvell's best recruiting year or just perhaps most surprising? I'd say most surprising.
Most surprising.
Yeah. I mean, they were a miserable failure, and he somehow recruited as if they weren't.
Well, he's got a collective and an administration that cannot have him fail, so that helps.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you still have to convince people to come.
Yeah. And I was also thinking, like, when we were talking about how big that Alabama game is in the season, it's like, man, if he gets to, as long as he doesn't fall on his face again, I fired him. You can't ask this fan base after what you just asked them for a new stadium, a new football facility.
Corey, when they made the decision, when they announced, we were up in Chicago when they basically when we found out that it was going to go the way that it was going to go, you knew that he was back for a minimum of 2 years.
Yeah, which is crazy.
With the outlier being that, look, man, you go 5-7, peace.
I guess, but peace. But hey, everyone, we have to get all your money for our roster. We have to keep paying this stadium off.
You're going to have to do that regardless. You might as well do it for a program that's winning.
You also got to pay a guy $50 million to not coach.
Well,
you want to keep him around and go 2-10 every year? I mean, what do you?
Well, and the other option, Corey, is you won't sell anything for the next year. You will have an empty stadium. That's what it comes down to. Coach Bowden, I never thought they were going to push Coach Bowden out. I really didn't. I thought, man, this guy is going to coach as long as he wants because they're not going to fire Bobby Bowden. And then we got
30,000 empty seats against Wake.
And then all of a sudden they're like, okay, we can't do this.
If they owed him $50 million, they might have been, you know what? We'll let him go out. We'll give him another year to get this thing right.
Listen, I get it. And I want people to hear me here. I'm not saying he's going to go 2-10 or he's going to suck or it's going to be a failure. I'm not predicting that. I'm just saying if it is, I'm with Ira here. I don't think you can just wait around. At some point, you're going to have to say, well, okay. We're going to have to move
I just think that point is after you owe him $50 million. Maybe it's $30 million. It's something more manageable.
Either way,
because you're asking people to pay for the roster.
They're going to have to pay for the roster regardless.
But so instead of taking that $50 million to fire the head coach, take that $50 million and go get a bunch of first-round picks.
If he's irrevocably broken and the players aren't following him, then which would be more than evident, at that point. You've got to move on.
Yeah, you have a chance. You had a chance to get some players this year. Listen, man, the money's great, but they're not going to be the only people with money. And people want to play in a program that's winning and has a chance. They have a chance to improve and make it to the NFL. And if you're a disaster for 2 straight years,
I don't care
how much money you pay. You're not going to get a lot of really good players.
I don't foresee 5-7, 6-6 as a disaster.
No, I agree either.
That's tenable.
Jeff was saying if it was a complete disaster.
Yeah, well, then he said 5-7.
You
said 5-7, you're done.
But if 5-7 is not a complete disaster,
we just lived through a complete disaster.
Corey,
it's not.
You're just going to keep lowering standards to a point where Florida State could be out here going 4-8. You're like, well, guys, we only won 2 last year.
If you owed them, if
I don't
$50 million
care about what you owe them. Fans don't care about that, man. Hey, listen,
but I'm living in the real world.
Get their head kicked in every year, but they make $1 gazillion because of their Big Ten. Do you think the fans give a about that?
Corey,
does the $50 million not exist?
No, but Corey, I thought the same thing about Willie's $20 million. I thought the same thing. That's why I said
man, if
you're not going to fire him.
If you could scrounge up 50, you could scrounge up 60.
I agree, but if you could
scrounge up 60. Why all of a sudden? Now it's only 50.
Because he was on the heels of going 12-0 last year. This would be back-to-back disasters. And if he had that look on his face again, staring off into you'd be like, "Come on, man."
I get it. I'm not saying it's ideal. I don't think 5-7 is gross with what you're paying, and it is fireable. 2-10, frankly, was fireable. 5-7 is absolutely fireable. It's just more than the fans aren't going to show up. Like you. Can you afford to fire the guy? Can you afford to fire?
You could argue, could you afford not to?
Yes, you could. You could argue both ways. You also, yes, you can afford to not fire him.
Thankfully, he's going 7-5, 8-4, 9-3, somewhere in there. Mike,
there you go.
Well, I guess that's the difference between 5-7 and 7-5 is maybe a couple of fumbles that you recover. It still sucks.
Better recover them.
But it still sucks, right?
You better recover them.
The standards are still – when you're saying, like, if he goes 7-5, he saves his job, well, then you've already lowered the standards. The standards are low right now.
The standards have been lowered, no doubt. Yeah. But I'm not going to keep just like we're going to go down to what's a magic number where you somehow – it's 3 – you won one more game.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why 5-7, 7-5, 6-6, it's all
7-5 and 5-7 are not the same thing.
I mean, it's all mediocrity, man. It's all mediocrity.
Correct.
But the problem is, Corey, you're given 2 wins. You're given 2 wins.
Yeah, I know, buddy. I know. That means you go 3-7 against the real schedule. That's gross.
Is, after all they've poured into the, not just the players, but the coaching staff changes and all that. Yeah, man, it's gonna be tough. I'm not with Jeff. I don't know that 5-7 is because if that's a complete disaster, what is 2-10? So I won't say complete disaster.
Shut down the program.
Was the first of the complete disasters. This would be on the heels of that. You would have shown that
this would be a mostly disaster. There is a difference. It's not complete. They did win 3 games against real teams instead of just 1, so it's a mostly disaster.
It's a semantical BS.
Yeah, but it is what it is.
I mean, we got to take a break. Is that what we got to do? Is
100% have to take a break. I'm going to say to Ben, check the 18 whatever mark for me cursing, please. Yes. Seminole Headlines 93.3 Real Talk Radio Warchant TV continues in a moment. So we should address this because something did happen while we were doing the show today, as you guessed properly, Ira. Link Jarrett about the status of Cam Leiter and whether or not we could talk about him as being a significant factor, at least in the first half of the season. Quote, yeah, Cam's got a significant rehab. There's not even a discussion for that one.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, it's just for whatever reason, man, his arm just hasn't come back. And it sucks. I mean, it
does suck.
Sucks for FSU, but it also sucks for him. I mean, that's, you think 2 years ago, that kid's probably thinking, man, I'm going to have a big year at Florida State. I mean, he's got great stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just, it hasn't come back. It's not to say it couldn't. Maybe they'll figure it out. But it really sucks.
Oh, you're certainly rooting for the kid. Absolutely, you are. And you're right. It sucks most for him. But it would have been nice, obviously, if you're just talking about the on-the-field aspect of this, to have another arm like that. But I think Florida State's got plenty of arms. You just root for that kid to get all the way back.
The other thing he said in people go to warchant.com or go, obviously on the Warchant YouTube, you can see the videos, but we'll also have coverage at the website also. But he describing the outfielders, he said they're unique, they're competitive, and they're here. And man, I got to feel like he is, as I mentioned in the last segment, he's got to be super fired up to have athletes out there because they've had sluggers, in the outfield.
He said to me when he first got the job, we did the long form interview, and I was asking him about how he recruits and what he tells his assistant coaches to look for. And he said, when they come to me with a player, they have to tell me at what position are they playing all conference level defense. At what position can I plug them in and know that they are a defense, like a Gold Glove caliber left fielder, center fielder. You have to tell me that before you tell me anything about their offensive prowess.
It's such a difference.
He hasn't had that is the point.
Yeah, it's such a difference. We all have our own major league teams that we're fans of, and you're fans of sport. But when you have dudes that can erase plays out there, it's
fun.
It changes everything. Yeah,
it's fun.
All right, back to the questions. Let's keep it rolling here. Gentlemen, prior to seeing the team go through spring practice, is there a position group that you do not believe has been improved over last year through the offseason acquisitions? That's from Jason. I'll start by saying defensive line.
Yeah.
It's hard to say it's going to definitely be better, yeah.
Not to be rude, but there's some addition by subtraction that happened.
Yeah.
But actually addition – it's hard to say that you're going to have more. You're not going to have right now, as the way it's currently constructed. You're not going to have as much talent on the defensive line as you did last year. It might be better. Might be a lot better.
People are listening to that and hearing talent and thinking,
yeah, but there's difference, right? Yeah, it's not going to have as much talent.
I'm nervous about the numbers, though, there, guys. I do think they've got to make another addition there, and we'll see if they do. But I mean, they got another opportunity. I mean,
we'll see another edge come in. Go grab an edge.
Yeah, go get you a stallion.
Get me
or a jack.
Yeah, get me an edge and a NG.
Maybe a rover. They actually could use a rover. I think we don't know what the rover situation is like. So
maybe a buck.
Yeah, buck would be great.
Yeah, I would say most of the questions are actually probably going to be on the defense, which is weird coming off of that season on offense. I think probably the side of the ball with more just a little uncertainty probably is defense.
Well, you brought in 10 starters on offense essentially. Right. You haven't really done that on defense. You got 10 guys. You brought in guys that are going to compete for jobs. A couple of them that are surefire starters, but a lot of rotation guys.
This is the proper level of snark, and it comes from a Facebook question by Michael. Which Friday game is your favorite Friday game?
Yeah, it's fair. The Virginia. I like Virginia in the late September ought to be pretty.
It should be pretty. Yeah. Also, that Stanford trip's going to be pretty. We going to make it? We all going to make it?
I will make it for sure. I got a free place to stay. I got a good buddy.
You heard him. You heard him on January 28th, Ira. What are the odds Jeff Cameron's going to be in Palo Alto for that game?
You know what? Let me defend you. I have no doubt he's going to be there because that's not like saying I'm going to go to Charlotte for AC.
Correct.
I mean,
correct.
That's a long ass way away for the Florida State Stanford.
But this guy doesn't fear flying.
No, I'm not caring about that. I'm just saying that's a long way for a road trip.
But he's not going to go leave Friday and come back Sunday morning.
Correct.
And the other thing is, think about Jeff's tastes.
Correct.
You're dead on that. You're dead on that.
So Corey, you're
going to be doing a show out there for 2 weeks.
You have failed this
from a vineyard.
Yeah, Ira was right on it. He knew. He saw that game and when Jeff is gone, he is going to Palo Alto, and that's exactly right. And just to let you know, on our way home last night from the concert at the Moon for James McMurtry, which was awesome, she turned to me, my wife, and said, "Oh man, the schedule's out. We got Stanford on the 18th. Should I call and make sure we got the house?" So, Corey, that's a wrap. My wife was already talking about the one game on the schedule she cares about.
That's true. Well, and if Chrissy's on board, that's a whole different ballgame. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
It's over. That may be the one game I go to this year, guys. That might be
we'll revisit with you, Corey, after Stephanie realizes.
But I do like the level of snark with the which Friday game is your favorite Friday game.
Yeah, and my favorite is anything that's not the NC State Friday game. So
yes, correct.
Agreed. Hey, but we looked it up. Tom and I looked it up this morning for the bonus hour. It is not the week that the stupid fair is there.
Oh, sweet.
So hopefully all those fat asses won't be geared up on all the sugar they eat normally and come in and throw piss bombs.
Yeah, that's in October. That's usually in October, the county fair, or the state fair.
State fair.
Yeah, that's the state of North Carolina's fair.
Sean Bergstrom, the
OG.
man, OG, that's right. This question is mainly for Corey, who's the godfather of nicknames, but please all share your opinion. Last year, my family and friends started referring to Jamie Arnold as the death dealer for obvious reasons. Needless to say, it stuck. Please get this name out to the headliners. He is the death dealer, and it's hashtag the death dealer cometh.
Okay, but then that wasn't really a question. It was a demand.
Yeah.
Well,
And why is it for me to do it? Because
you're the nickname guy.
But Jeff read the whole thing.
Yeah, but you're the nickname guy.
I'll be honest with you.
If he gets your support and validation, I think he feels like it's stamped.
I feel like I got a better nickname than that. And how about Arnie?
You just hurt me.
Just like that's a Mike Martin-ism, right? Arnie, old Arnie out there, our bulldog.
How about? I mean, listen, I'm not trying to be cliche, but can you just go with the Reaper? Like, can we go with? Do we need to come up with a whole new phrase for a death dealer? Can we just go with the Grim Reaper or the Reaper?
I kind of like death dealer. I'm fine with death dealer.
Old Double D.
You got to come out there to Slayer. You've got to embrace the evil. You got to do it all, but he won't. And they won't.
Yeah, he won't. He's not going to dress up like Guar.
No.
He's not going to be in his Guar outfit pitching.
No, he's not going to do any of that stuff, but I like it. I don't know what you're going to do. I don't think it's going to work. You're going to have to pick something else.
And there's no way that anybody's nickname in 202025 is going to be the death dealer. Sean, sorry, bud.
But
Arnie's got a better chance of sticking.
That's going to stay in the stands. That's going to stay in the stands.
Well, the reason that Arnie has a chance of sticking is that you could do the whole Arnie's Army thing.
Yeah.
And that might work in the stands.
Just saying, guys. Every time he pitches on a Friday night.
Marlon writes, "Good day, gents. We all know that a bad loss can sometimes compound into 2 losses, but can a bad year compound into 2 bad years? I'm still worried that the stench of the snub hasn't left the program, being that the messenger is the one whom remained. I love the show always." Thanks, Marlon.
Thanks, Marlon.
I think normally, right, it would have. This isn't normal college athletics anymore, and you literally have half a new roster and half a new coaching staff. So
yeah.
Well, that's a good point. Imagine if this was all happening. Imagine if the last 15 months had happened in 1995.
Oh, no, he's done. 100%. I've said that repeatedly. If this were the old ways that programs were built,
you couldn't build it back up. You had no way to build it back up.
You had no way to build it back up. But also, I would argue that had you built the program to a place where you had just won 13 games the year before and 10 the year before that, you could have never gone 2-10 the next year.
Well, that's true too.
Yeah. So, but if you're gonna go 2-10, this is the right time to go 2-10. Everybody.
Silver lining, baby. It's just silver lining.
This is the one.
Back to his question, I do think it's a fair possibility. I mean,
Sure.
I do. What we're saying though is he's got a fighter's chance now because of the way the sport works. But it is a possibility. I mean, it's possible that stench is there and it won't come off. I mean, it's possible.
So you guys like to make references to outdated movies. Help me, Corey. How Stella Got Her Groove Back? What year? What was the?
I'm going to say that was mid 90s, like 94, 95, with Angela Bassett and my man Tay Diggs, old TD.
Yeah. So this is a little bit of Mike Norvell's How Stella Got Her Groove Back season. He's going to have to find a way. Maybe go to the
I'll be
island,
honest with you guys.
We'll just call him Stella.
Tay Diggs had like an 8-pack. I mean, my guy, holy cow.
Well,
I mean, I know what kind of show it is. I'm just saying Tay Diggs is a very, very fit young man back then. I assume he probably still is.
Corey's going to go watch it again after we finish.
I am. I just started thinking about.
I'm getting more and more concerned as the show goes on.
I'm gonna guess 1990. I'm gonna guess 1993. On that one. I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah. Alan writes, "What is one ACC team you wish was on the schedule?" And
1998. Sorry, 1998.
And who could you replace them with?
Oh, take somebody off of the current schedule.
Somebody off the current schedule and then replace them with somebody.
For what purpose? An easier schedule or just a more fun game?
He didn't say. Just somebody you wish. I'll tell you what. I want to play SMU again.
Yeah. A little payback, a little retribution.
Let's go.
Come and get some in Doak.
You come to Doak. That was not an SMU team that – come on, man. If they would have lined up and run the ball and stopped being a-holes, Mike was so lost at that time.
Look, man, if Morlock just catches the ball.
Instead of
giving them a touchdown, he could have just caught it. The whole game changes.
It's hard to direct where the ball's going to go from your face mask, though. Like it's hard to.
Yeah.
You'd like to think he would have directed it away from their player,
Right.
but it's
instead of straight up with a lot of time to get underneath it. Yeah. That one was like a fair catch.
It was.
So who would you take off, Wake or Miami?
No. No, I would take off NC State and Raleigh. I don't.
Yeah.
We never play well there. I hate their fans. It's a sorry experience.
Yeah, there's nothing redeeming about that. Beating Dave Doran would be nice.
Yeah,
but other than that, that's the one I would take off. Who would you replace him with? I don't
SMU.
know.
North Carolina.
SMU.
Okay, you play Bill Belichick.
Bill Belichick, Chapel Bill.
The two perfect coaches, Norvell and Belichick, going at it. They both have perfect regular seasons under their belt.
Yeah.
All right. Next, we've got. I got to skip ahead here. Ira, I would suggest a flight from Tabello Brewing to allow you to sample without committing, like a 5-star on an unofficial visit. Gentlemen, if Gus is able to get us to 72 plays a game, how many of them are passes?
30. 28.
Good call, Corey. 28.
28
how many
30.
Now, is that dropbacks or plays that end up as passes?
Plays that end up as passes.
What does that mean?
Well,
plays that end up as passes.
RPO.
It may be called as a pass, but he may take off.
I see what you're saying. So you meant
RPOs.
run. Okay, yeah, calling passing plays. Yeah, I would say 30.
Oh, calling passing plays.
Because some of them end up as Castellanos runs.
Yeah.
I think that's what you were trying to say,
Yeah.
Ira. It was just confusing.
That's exactly what I
said.
said.
Well,
No,
you didn't. You said, do they end up as passing plays? Is a weird way to phrase every passing play that's called. Every pass that's ever been thrown was called a passing play.
My point is the result a pass attempt?
Yeah, but it was also in the modern football.
Pass?
In modern football, that was a choice.
Oh, okay. All right. Gotcha.
Yeah, he made a choice. Yeah, he saw something. It was an option.
I'll say that of 72 plays, I'll say 34. That's the number coming to my head. Are called passes, but yeah, he may end up, finishing with 28 attempts, 26 attempts.
Do you think he will blow up the wide receiver screen portion of the RPO and never call it because of what happened last year? Or is he going to demand more from the receivers? Because holy cow.
Maybe they'll maybe the new receivers coach will teach these receivers how to block.
I saw an NFL team do this the other day. The Commanders, they had Jamison Crowder, who's their smallest wide receiver, trying to block a DB on one of those plays, and of course it got blown up. It lost 3 yards. And it's like, why do these coaches Crowder's the one that's supposed to be catching it. Yeah. Why would he be blocking?
Well, was it in a bunch? He was
the middle guy in the bunch.
Yeah, it was a bunch. Yeah, sometimes in that 3 receiver set can be weird. They also scored on a play like that. It is. I don't know. I'd have to see him in practice to see, like, does he take to blocking? Does he really like blocking?
Yeah, he didn't on that play. Cooper DeJean flew right through him.
Seminole Headlines, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV continues in a moment.
Hey, headliners. Ira here. It's a new year and you're thinking, how am I going to make this year different? Can I turn this business idea I've been kicking around into a reality? How do I make it happen? Shopify is how you're going to make it happen, and let me tell you how. Shopify makes it simple to create your brand. Open it up for business and get your first sale. Get your store up and running easily with thousands of customizable templates. No coding or design skills required. All you need to do is drag and drop. Their powerful social media tools let you connect all your channels, and they help you sell everywhere people scroll. Shopify makes it easy to manage your growing business. They help with the details like shipping, taxes, and payments from one single dashboard, so you can focus on the important stuff, like growing your business. With Shopify, your first sale is closer than you think. Make this year the one where your idea becomes your reality. Established in 2025 has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/warchant, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/warchant to start selling with Shopify today. Shopify.com/warchant.
Wrapping up this stellar edition of Seminole Headlines. That's right.
This recorded stellar edition.
That's right. So Castellanos today, guys?
Yeah, we got Castellanos.
First guy you get, right?
And Squirrel White. Corey, going to be okay?
Yeah.
And then the Luke Pettibon, the offensive lineman. center. Well, I guess offensive lineman. But it would be cool if somebody told Squirrel the story and he kind of came running at you.
Well, I'm not. Luckily, I'm in Atlanta, so I'm not in
Oh,
Tallahassee right now anyway. So he can't run at me. He can't jump on me anyway.
What if he scurried towards you?
Yeah, you are scampered.
Scampered or scurried?
Yeah.
That actually sounds more terrifying.
Well, squirrels scurry. That's exactly what squirrels do. Is they scurry.
Yeah.
It's a great nickname. I hate it. I hate all squirrels, but maybe I'll grow to love him if he makes some plays.
Roger seems to be on the same page I'm on as I scroll down to look at his question. He writes, "Hey, gents, by now you've discussed this, I'm sure, but I still have defensive line depth night sweats. Is it real? Can this be rectified in the spring window? Yay, sausage." Thanks, Roger.
You'd also like some guys to maybe step up and become better than they've been. But I see it happen all over the country, gang.
Yep.
Guys that haven't been good their first 2 years all of a sudden become productive college football players. It does happen. So, a KJ Sampson, a Daniel Lyons, throw somebody else in there that I'm not thinking of. Like, there are guys that are on the roster that could maybe become decent college football players.
Yeah, and then theoretically, I mean, again, we'll see, but you could see a scenario where a guy like Daniel Lyons, who was probably not frame-wise exactly what you want for an interior lineman, maybe being a big defensive end in this three-man front, and that may flourish there. I mean, he might be, able to play it a different way. So, we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get this. I get Roger's question, though. I am a little concerned. I got some depth concerns myself there, Roger.
I don't know if I would have night sweats about it, though. I mean, it's a concern.
Also, like you just watch your team go 2-10. Are you that invested right now? You're not going 12-0. Just hopefully they're a lot better. Hopefully they're a lot better than they were last year.
And as we argued about last hour, that's got to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 wins, Corey.
I was thinking about this. I did want to say this real quick. I'm not sitting here saying you should not fire a man that has a losing season after a horrible season. I'm saying it sucks that it's on the fan base to foot the bill for everything.
Yeah,
that's all.
The system sucks.
It sucks. Yes. But to give a guy that kind of deal, knowing who's on who has to pay for it, on top of, hey, we need all the money we can get so we can have a competitive roster. It sucks.
No, they're in a bad position. This is why we said they're in a precarious spot. It's not just that. It is largely that when we're talking about football passions. But you're suing the conference and you're still stuck in this second-rate league.
You might have to pay to leave. There's money everywhere.
Yeah,
that you have to spend.
You've got the football-only facility. You've got, obviously, the stadium. You've got all of this. And combined with the losses, it's a bit overwhelming. So
and Corey's out here pushing for another statue for Mickey Andrews, and I mean, look.
Well, how much do those cost? I could make one tomorrow.
Comparatively speaking, $7.
Not much.
$7 for the Mickey Andrews statue. What if they did a paper mache?
Yeah, and it disappeared when it rained.
Speaking of paper,
that wouldn't be fitting.
Speaking of paper, this just came to my mind the other day. Remember Jimbo breaking out the yellow brick road thing?
Oh my God!
To practice, there was that was unbelievable. For people that don't remember, you weren't around.
Was it the 16th season, right?
Yeah,
the Showtime season.
Yeah,
promissory notes, baby, promissory notes.
Yeah, that's the year, and he was trying to get them. I think they talked about like having courage or having a heart. The lessons of the Wizard of Oz. And they literally, somebody on the staff, I'm hoping somebody very low on the staff, had to make a yellow brick road out of like cardboard poster boards, basically from the locker room up to the practice fields. Maybe the dumbest thing in the history of, I don't know how I think we all knew things were going in the wrong direction, but we probably should have stopped covering practice at that point.
I don't know, man.
I'm picturing poor Chuck Walsh coloring. Like just
Chuck's doing basketball stuff. It's not him. I would say Willie having them all practice celebrating touchdowns.
Hey, man, you got to look good. It's better to look good.
Was dumber than the yellow brick road, but it's close. It's close.
Okay, we've got Hunter writing in to say, hey, y'all, it's Lions season. Time to convince myself we aren't going 12-0.
Yeah.
What's our record if we beat Alabama week 1? What's our record if we lose?
Man, beating Alabama's, we haven't really put that on the table. I'm not sure we'll ever put that on the table just because.
Which we should.
I mean, it's on the table.
Kalen DeBoer's not Nick Saban, and that is not the 2017 Alabama team. That is on the table.
It's a long ass table, and it's at the far corner.
Yeah.
It's like hanging off the corner of the table.
But right now you're on all fours on top of the table, kind of slowly crawling towards it, like a White Snake video, just slowly crawling on the tabletop.
Tawny Katan.
Yeah. Hey, rest in peace. Rest in peace.
Is she? She's gone.
Yeah.
We lost Tawny.
That's what happens when you do a lot of drugs, Ira.
Wow.
Yeah.
You don't make it to the old age. Hey, we never needed to see her old. We never needed to see her old.
Better to burn bright than fade away, Tawny.
She understood her role in society.
God
bless
her.
On top of that car.
I'm rolling around in a sports car. All right. So I'm going to say,
I would say 9 wins.
If they win, man, I think 10's on the table, because that would speak volumes, dude. If they're that well together to beat a competent, good team with talent, I think I'd be looking at 9-10 wins, man. It would be.
It gets them to 4-0, probably heading to Miami. And
Clemson's still a guaranteed loss, and you're probably going to lose a 1 or 2 other games, even if you're good, right?
Ira talks about Clemson like Corey talks about that Bama game.
I mean, they're not winning there.
I mean, they're just odds are, Ira. I know you want to be proven wrong. Say it now. You'd love to be proven wrong.
Love to be proven wrong.
Yeah, but odds are they're probably not going to beat Clemson at Clemson.
They're unlikely to beat Alabama too, but it is on the table. I mean, 6-6 Oklahoma housed that Alabama team.
Yeah,
wasn't even competitive. Alabama, you didn't belong in the stadium.
And they don't have their quarterback. They have to break in a brand new quarterback on opening day.
That kind of hurts, though. I wish he would have been the one coming here.
Man, no, because they would
have just run him. They just would have run him
because it's the first game of the season. They're going to run him to win the game.
You're right.
They have that option now.
But if it was like week 4 and you needed him to complete a forward pass, I want him to be the quarterback, having to try to do that.
That's why I also kind of like Florida State. Castellanos will be fresh. I mean, look, man, he is a unique running quarterback. He is an elite runner, and in that first game, they will use him to run. And I would not be surprised at all if he ran for 100 yards in that game.
Well, think about it this way, Corey. They could use him all day and then rest him the next 2 weeks.
They could rest him. Yeah, you're right. 3 weeks. It's basically 3 straight buys after the Alabama game.
Rest him the next 2 weeks, and you're good to go. Yeah. Be ready for that that ACC opener.
Gus, you better be listening.
I really can't get anything out of Tawny Katan rolling around in that car out of my head. Like, I feel like that's going to be an image with me for the rest of the day. Thanks.
This is such an old show.
And
we are so old. It's such an old show.
You got to be who you are. So I'm just going to tell you, T-minus 30 seconds until YouTube. Not Great White. Sorry about that. I was about to say Great White.
White Snake.
White Snake. Type White Snake. Go ahead, gang. Tawny Katan. We did you a favor.
There's also a cool poster of Farrah Fawcett. Why don't we talk about that?
Yeah.
From 55 years.
Farrah Fawcett poster.
Yeah, it is. It's incredible, but it was 50 years ago.
Also, Scott Baio, guys, in his prime.
What?
I mean, hey, you can bring up the dude's abs.
Tay Diggs is a lot hotter than Scott Baio. Scott Baio couldn't dream to be as hot as Tay Diggs.
Corey still got the Brad Pitt poster from Thelma and Louise. That's a six-pack you've never seen. I mean, it's unreal.
Looking at it right now.
Yeah, there you go. Bo Derek on the beach, Dudley Moore.
Wow.
There you go. Let's go, guys.
10 for that ass.
Yeah,
I'm going to say Jessica Alba. At least someone in their 40s. At least someone in their 40s. I brought it to this century.
Thanks to Ben. Thanks to Corey and Ira. I'm Jeff. Thanks to all of you. Be good. Talk to you soon. Peace. Bonus hour up next. Stay tuned.